For years, I believed her when she told me the baby was mine." Jim Jones then stormed off, his eyes red, his voice quivering, his hand shaking. Leaving the studio and going straight to a lawyer's office, and now filing for divorce without warning. Just going to war, because what began as a reality TV romance just became a DNA catastrophe. We're discussing a paternity test that was so explosive that it destroyed contracts, blew up group conversations, and had, in the court footage that was leaked, Mama Jones threw furniture backstage, and Chrissy, oh, she didn't dispute it, spoke 6 words that the entire internet saw. Screaming, "I did what I had to do, so please pardon me, sis. You sold wedding specials, created a brand on ride or die, and lied about a whole baby. Concealing a reality that might destroy Dipset No. This isn't a scene of hip-hop and love anymore. Rather, it's a scandal that the devil himself wrote. You won't believe what she signed next," Jim's team discovered. "Let's dissect everything since this problem is only beginning." There was nothing particularly serious about the normal court hearing on some old contract concerns with VH1, just papers and silence, until Jim Jones entered the room with a sealed envelope, with no entourage or camera team, just him, a lawyer, and a "I'm done" expression. Chrissy was already at the table, going through her phone as if it were any other Thursday, but her expression lit up when she noticed the envelope in his fingers. Altered that envelope to include the DNA test results that would literally, not figuratively, burn down the courtroom. Mama Jones had to be escorted out after yelling, "I told y'all she was lying," and smashing a display screen. What was court insiders' claim that the paternity test in that mail was privately obtained rather than through a hospital or VH1? Jim had disappeared into obscurity. The test, Smart Savage, was related to a second child that Chrissy supposedly revealed and wasn't only for the child she claimed was their little secret. Let that sink in. Jim had passed away while still in the womb. But here's the twist. A second child is still alive and breathing on record, and Jim isn't the father of either. For years, Chrissy told the same fairy tale about how she and Jim were resolving their differences and taking their time creating an off-camera future. The internet exploded when she was allegedly bribing a clinic employee, faking DNA records, and upholding a 2-family deception behind closed doors. Chrissy lied about a free Jim within seconds of the leak, but Mama Jones was correct. Then, the true blow came when a voicemail from Chrissy to her former publicist appeared on, "And this is word for word if the second test comes back negative, stall him, tell him the lab lost it or not," she writes on a gossip blog. What are you doing? Girl, you're keeping a man from knowing the truth about a baby so you can get what you need until the reunion airs. Squeeze one more check out of a reunion special. This is brand-level sabotage, not emotional manipulation, yet it doesn't stop there. Sources from according to Jim's legal team, they have discovered inconsistencies in the translation of historical documentation. Chrissy allegedly altered birth certificates and utilized old ultrasound footage to persuade Jim that everything was genuine. One of Jim's friends claimed he often questioned why she wouldn't let him visit the appointments, but Chrissy persuaded everybody by saying things like, "I want one thing that's only for me," or "You stress me out too much." And Jim trusted her, even though he'll admit that he's not the easiest man to love. However, he was devastated to learn this through lab tests, voicemail leaks, and burner phone records because loyalty was the one thing he never faked. As the judge inquired, "Mr. Jones, do you wish to proceed with filing for legal separation?" Jim was actually unable to look at Chrissy, according to courtroom reporters. Based on this fresh evidence, he simply nodded, shattering the silence, and Chrissy didn't even blink, cry, or blink. She just crossed her legs, folded her arms, and uttered a single statement that will always haunt Jim. It was never about the baby. It was about survival. What exactly does it mean to survive a phony relationship, reality show, or fantasy? Life based on fabricated test results? According to reports, this wasn't even the first time she had pulled a prank like this. Chrissy had a similar incident in 2011 when she had a pregnancy scare that didn't work out. One anonymous VH1 staffer said that she knew exactly when to reveal the pregnancy card when the ratings started to decline as part of a bigger discussion with production. Mona wanted something to anchor the climax when Jim was about to walk, and she said, "You can't make this up. Or perhaps you can because Chrissy supposedly did it for years." Insiders claim that the humiliation Jim endured, rather than the DNA lie, was what truly broke him. The sensation of being used as a prop in someone else's attempt to create a legacy that was predetermined against him. The court records that are now partially available because of, according to a screenshot that was obtained, Jim has asked for the immediate termination of all joint commercial endeavors and the total severance of all reality show-related suffers emotional harm as a result of deliberate dishonesty and reputational damage. He's not simply abandoning her, he's deleting her. And just when you thought as if this circus couldn't get any dirtier, a new character entered the scene. Cameron, the former Dipset brother who everyone assumed had disappeared, actually never did. Because Cam's attorney presented the judge with a sealed folder containing additional footage relevant to the paternity chronology just as the court was about to adjourn. To put it simply, the video, which court sources claim was shot in 2018, depicts Chrissy and Cam together in Miami the same weekend she informed Jim that she was attending a wellness retreat in Sedona, and that, indeed, a hotel room and a receipt for two. Jim didn't believe that the toothbrush's coincidence was real, and that's just where we start in part 2, when Cam's video is shown to the court in a new Chrissy's argument unravels in real time when a witness comes forward since the DNA test was only the beginning. The rest is where things get dicey. As the projector came to life, the courtroom lights dipped a little, and everyone leaned in, even the judge, who glanced up from his bench to see a blurry timestamp blink on. Friday, August 14th, 2018, at 10:42 p.m. Miami, Chrissy is seen strolling down a hotel corridor wearing a gray sweatshirt while holding her phone. The camera captured everything as she looked about and knocked twice on a door, which opened, and Cameron stood there grinning without a shirt. Gasps, and now everything in the courtroom altered since this was no longer merely a coincidence. This was evidence of the kind that shuts doors and destroys relationships, an innocent encounter or an old friendship, and the film shifted to an interior view. Film showing Chrissy entering the room, removing her sweater to reveal a tank top, and sweatpants, bending in and mumbling something before the television went silent. Jim was sitting there looking straight ahead when the judge asked if he needed a recess. He waved it off, but the harm was done. There was no audio or graphic footage. Unflinching and stone-faced, Chrissy's lawyer quickly jumped up and objected to the video, saying it was circumstantial and didn't prove anything more than a casual conversation. The judge appeared irritated, and your client informed the court that she was in Sedona on this particular date. That was all it needed. Contradiction, a lie on the record, and as the court was getting over that video, Cam's attorney came out once more with the type of he handed over another USB, this one including a voice memo, with assurance that states, "We're not done." Purportedly taken from Chrissy's previous backup account, and the court approved it. It displayed Chrissy's cool, collected voice. "I have leverage as long as Jim believes the kid is his, and I won't give it up until I know my position with Cam." One woman in the Mama Jones covered her mouth in the back row. Now that she was back in the room and security was holding her chair, she began to cry once more. But this time it wasn't the loud, irate sort. When the judge eventually cleared his throat and ordered, "Proceed," Jim simply closed his eyes and remained motionless, not even the court reporter. Additionally, Cam's legal team revealed a second batch of documents that included bank records indicating a $7,000 wire transfer. Date: 2 weeks before to the claimed miscarriage, Chrissy transferred to a private OBGYN in New Jersey. Description: processing of confidential results. Translation: Jim's lawyer instantly jumped up, "Your Honor, and we'd like to discuss how she paid to keep a second test off the books." request a formal motion to look into identity concealing and prenatal fraud in connection with the paternity claims. We also plan to present these results to. For the first time, Chrissy in the district attorney's office appeared human and vulnerable. She didn't blink, but her face lost some of its color. Cornered, the judge nodded and marked that the evidence was approved to proceed. Then, in a turn of events that nobody anticipated, the court declared a surprise. Chrissy's former assistant, Witness C, was trembling as she took the stand, clutching her handbag as if it were her soul. Between 2017 to 2020, I worked with Chrissy, managing her social media and travel schedules when she suspended personal messaging. Did you witness any activity related to paternity fraud or public deception? The judge was asked. Witness C glanced at Chrissy and then at Jim. Yes, she replied. She forced me to remove text chains before Jim arrived home after forcing me to stage pictures of her wearing baby clothes. Even Chrissy's lawyer appeared taken aback when she sent it to Mona Scott, despite the fact that she was no longer pregnant. And why would she want sent those pictures? She told the judge that she required promo-ready images for the upcoming season in order to market the assistant. Said that she wanted to ensure that the plot had empathy before the reunion, as Jim looked at her with pain rather than rage as someone had just shown him. The judge permitted a grave. The next question was if there had been any conversation regarding Cameron. The assistant nodded, saying that she used to text him from a burner. I had to choose one. Up for her when she said things like, Jim is starting to show signs of suspicion. Or, don't respond till after midnight. The courtroom was quiet once more, but she felt as though she was living two lives. The hashtags for Chrissy burner phone char double life were already trending on the internet outside of bloggers' live phones. Confirmed that Chark Jim deserves better, while Chrissy sat there with her eyes focused on the floor as if they were glued down, without crying or reacting. As if that weren't enough, the court played one final audio clip of the day, which was taken from a production assistant for Love and Hip Hop who stated, "It was Chrissy off camera during a backstage talk. In 2022, you don't have to know everything. A little mystery keeps things interesting." The judge halted the video midway through, glanced over his spectacles, said nothing, and shook. Men in check get too much truth, so he leaves. Jim gently got up and left his head court, which was recessed for the day. Mama Jones followed him, but Chrissy remained sitting by herself as if she had realized the game. Had finally caught up, but as reporters gathered outside, one of Jim's former business partners stepped to the scene, adding another twist to the pandemonium. Spoke into a microphone and stated, "More emails, money trails, and a voicemail from a Love and Hip Hop executive show that the pregnancy plot was proposed months ago, prior to the filming." What does that imply then? It implies that Chrissy lied to America in addition to Jim. Furthermore, every brand deal, interview, and staged ring-on-the-finger moment is currently being re-examined under a microscope of wrath, and BH1 insiders are already disclosing information about it. According to reports, production notes stylists are coming forward, and even Mona Scott is being pressured to give unedited film that could reveal the whole pregnancy arc's backstory. And we haven't even reached part 3 yet, where court orders are obtained for Chrissy's any possibility of reconciliation is destroyed by financial accounts and a final betrayal because Jim not only lost faith but missing years. Chrissy arrived at court the following morning by herself, without a beauty squad, a producer in her ear, or an entourage whispering strategy. Before reporters shouted her name, she wore huge shades and a quiet that seemed heavier than anything she had ever worn. But she kept her head down and went right through it. Because she already knew what was going to happen at precisely 9:03, Hamatarpai, Jim's legal team sent security straight to her seat and waited. Presented a printed chain of internal emails between Chrissy and a now-fired VH1 official that controlled Jim's story as a new exhibit. Plot points and time cues were included in the directions. and the thread at the bottom that caused the judge to raise an eyebrow was a "Let's lock in the pregnancy scare for episode 3, Chrissy suggested. Because it will buy me some time before I have to explain the Miami trip game over. The judge said, "Manin, could you confirm that this is your communication?" Even her own counsel appeared shocked. "Yes, Your Honor, I sent that," Chrissy said after pausing and nodding. No one in the courtroom gasped. Wasn't necessary for everyone to sense the change. The change was total. Chrissy was no longer only a reality star. She was now the antagonist in her own series, and Jim, who had yet to speak, sat quietly and watched, periodically drinking water, as if he had lost all sense of it. The moment that shattered even him came after the heartbreak ended, and this was all business. For the last piece of evidence, a court technician wheeled in a screen with an authorized time-stamped iCloud voice memo from Chrissy from a year ago in the recording she heard speaking to someone on speaker, so I said the baby was his because, if Jim ever learns about Cam, it's finished and he won't live. Needed to have faith in anything, and I needed him to stay until the spin-off was approved. The room's atmosphere was sucked out, not a sigh, not a whisper, just when Jim's attorney gradually pushed back his chair and stood up. He walked over to the bench. "Your Honor, we are offering this as conclusive proof." The judge gave a nod in favor of deliberate emotional manipulation and corporate fraud before turning to face Chrissy. "Do you doubt the veracity of this recording?" she said. No. At that point, the dominoes truly began to fall. After the judge granted Jim's team's official request to freeze all joint accounts and assets while additional investigation was conducted, the revelation that Chrissy's business forms, charity donations, and digital transfers were being reviewed by federal auditors. The subpoena packet that the court clerk gave her lawyer appeared to be thick enough to shatter a windshield. But it was still, Chrissy didn't say anything, didn't back down, didn't cry. She just appeared worn out. Like a woman who had finally realized the plot she had written was currently sending her back court orders, evidence files, and receipts that she was unable to alter, but it didn't end there since, although Chrissy's whole public persona was Instagram accounts that had backed her were being torn apart by the internet outside the courtroom, which was destroying her brand like a pack of wolves. Flicking captions team Chrissy transformed into Chrissy Played Us All, and talk was overrun with side-by-side comparisons of situations where Chrissy pretended to cry over the pregnancy. But the actual timing revealed otherwise, and the most outrageous portion was an internal VH1 chat that was leaked to producers. Joking about pregnancy arcs, she gave us ratings and promised us a kid, so this wasn't just betrayal. However, one statement that struck like a punch was a production-wide performance designed to support false beliefs and funded with emotional money that Jim refused to spend, and when the "Do you have anything to add before we conclude today's hearing?" the judge asked, turning to Jim at last. He got up, strode to the middle of the room, inhaled deeply, and then uttered, "I simply want peace, not retribution. I want my time back. I want my tale told correctly." And then, without turning around or causing any drama, he left the remains of a life that never existed, but Chrissy, she wasn't finished as soon as the court session ended. The same person who was her publicist. The voicemail leaks that were discovered revealed on her behalf, the statement read, "Chrissy recognizes the harm done to her emotions, attempting to avoid watching television and concentrate on rebuilding in private.